Ciao and benvenuti to Untold Italy. I'm Josie.
And I'm Katie, and we're here to help you plan your trip to Italy.
Between us, we have many years of travel experience and we want to help you uncover your own, as yet untold stories and adventures in Italy.
Each episode you'll hear practical advice, tips and ideas to help you plan your own trips to the magical land of history, stunning landscapes and a whole lot of pasta.
We'll have interviews from experts and focus on local destinations and frequently asked questions about travel in Italy.
Thanks for listening and make sure to subscribe to our show.
Now let's get started on your regular dose of Bella Italia.
Ciao and welcome to Untold Italy, episode number 20. We hope you're staying safe and well wherever you are in the world. A couple of weeks ago, I shared my favourite places in Italy, so today we are going to hear from Josie all about her top 10. How did you go trying to make your list, Josie?
Well, Katie, I made my list and I have two daughters, as most of you have heard the podcast, and they're quite as passionate about Italy as you and I are. So I made my list and I forgot one of the major cities that I love on it. And then I kept remaking it and redoing it. I've decided that my list comes from the love of all the top 10 come from all the beautiful memories I have with my beautiful daughters and my husband that we took a big trip. And I think it's really hard. And I think I saw through you last week picking your top 10. But I think when you talk about when you were there and what you felt. So my top 10 is really the top 10 for our family and what we loved and the amazing memories that we've got. So these are my memories and the reason I love them, love these 10 places. So should we get started?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear them. Okay, number 10, Josie.
So it was really hard to put this one. I didn't know where to put it. So my family, as I've said in our first podcast, comes from Calabria, my mum and dad. And so over many years, I have travelled to Calabria. One of my favourite places is a little town called Tropea. And Tropea is deep. So we are deep in Calabria at the toe of the Italian boot. So it's a beach town and it's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. It has fantastic beaches. It's got a really beautiful, charming historical centre, great seafood restaurants that sell beautiful fish and seafood because it's just where it sits. And you've got beach clubs as well so that you can drive in and you can leave your car. Now, one legend says that it was actually founded by Hercules, who is honoured in the name of the main square, Piazza Ecoli, which is really interesting. So, but it's an amazing, amazing place. I don't know. I think it just draws me. It's the sun, it's the sand, it's the southern Italian. We always go in July and August, and there's a lot of people, and it's just honestly amazing. The beaches are fantastic. So you've got a good 5 kilometre of pristine white beaches, but it's really rocky formation. And Tropea sits sort of like on the cliff, and there's lots of grottos that are actually dotted through the coastline and around that area as well. The water, I would actually say, and I've been to the Caribbean, it's Caribbean-like water. It's that beautiful colour. So it's amazing. So that's probably one of my favourite. And again, it's that summer feel, right? The Italians, having your mozzarella panino on the beach because you take it, or you can go back to the restaurant. And then there's lots of, if you go up to Tropea into the town and you walk up the hill from the beach, there's lots of pottery. So very, not as probably, I'm not going to say as sophisticated as like the Sorrento pottery or the Sicilian pottery, but it's really beautiful as well. So they've got lots of artisans as well. So you can get jewelry, handmade jewelry, and lots of that sort of homemade stuff. Obviously, great restaurants, great food, and it's just a really great place. So that was my number 10.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm a little bit jealous because when we went to Calabria a few years ago, I really did have Tropea on my list of places to go, but we didn't make it there because we were taken around Calabria by our relatives and they didn't take us to Tropea. So I'm very, very excited to go there one day. How long would you spend there? How long do you think we should spend there if we go?
Look, Tropea itself, I think it's, if you like beach, because I'm a bit of a beach, so you could do a couple of beaches along the way. So, 2 to 3 nights. I mean, I've got family, so to be honest, we stayed 2 weeks. Probably too long for just someone coming. And I think also if you're driving, because we drove from Sicily up to Calabria, it was really easy as well. And driving around there is really quite easy. So, but then we would visit our relatives and go to different beaches, because there's a lot of beaches around there that are really quite well known. So you could stay in Tropea, which is a beautiful, obviously, as I said, it's a hilltop town just right above the beach, and then what you could go is drive around a little bit. So I definitely would say 2 nights and get that sort of Italian, really cultural Calabrese feeling of Italy, very southern and rustic.
So you probably wouldn't get too many non-Italian tourists there. Was that right?
Yeah, no, you don't get very many. I think it's actually I was talking to my cousins when we were there, and they said there's a lot of different, like Germans do come now, and there is a lot more movement from Europeans coming down. And a lot of the southern Italians or Calabreses did go up to Milan and went to Germany and Switzerland. So you'll find people that have connected. So there is a bit of a movement in summer, but not as much as probably the other like Sorrento or Cinque Terre. It's definitely not as touristy. The only tourists really that you get in Tropea or in that Calabrian area of the beach is really locals and their families coming back, and then other people that know. So is it busy? Yes, but not as crazy busy as the other places that you would visit.
Okay, well, it's definitely going on my list again. so that hopefully we can make it there one day. How about let's move on to number 9 then, Josie?
Number 9. So my number 9 is actually something similar to what you had. We talk about the Tuscan region, and again, I need to explore it a bit more. I think we found that from your top 10, and I thought one of my favourite places is Siena, and we visited there with my husband and the girls, and as we were reminiscing, as I was putting this together, we had a bit of a lovely laugh about how beautiful that city is. So obviously it's in the Tuscan region. It's full of medieval brick buildings. It's just an amazing place to go. I think it's just, you walk through, it's a Gothic town, it's got beautiful towers and churches, and you have the main square, which is all around. And you just, I don't know, it was just a really great place. I think it's just one of those places that you go and you're transported back in time. I just always felt that when I was there, it was just a little bit different to where the rest of, I don't know, it just had a different taste, but it still had that Tuscan feel to it, I think. I don't know, have you been there, and what did you think?
Well, I went there in November and I absolutely loved it, and that was the most recent visit. And what I did love about Siena was, you have those cobbled streets, and you have the cathedral, and it's up on the hill really as well, isn't it? So but then you walk down through the streets and you keep walking and you keep going through the little streets, and you can stop at a cafe and you can have a coffee, and they have those cantucci, the almond biscuits.
As you're going down, you go into the central piazza, which is Il Campo, which is amazing, right? And I think just that feeling, and they also have that the famous
Palio,
the horse, the running of the horses around the piazza 2 times every summer. And I think it's amazing, because then you could imagine all of the fanfare of that, because when the Italians do it and the Tuscans, they get out their big banners and their whole thing, and I think you could just feel it. So I do love it. We sat there and had an ice cream and dinner along the restaurants around that. So I think it's an amazing place, and definitely worth a see. But I think as we've discussed, I mean, you've got your favourite place in Tuscany, and so have I. But I think it's that whole region that makes it amazing. And there's lots of cathedrals and churches and lots of history there as well. So it's definitely worth spending a couple of days there, I think.
I think so too. I'll never forget that feeling when we walked around the corner and you go under an archway, and then you're sort of in the Piazza del Campo, huge open space, and you can imagine the horses going round and round, and it's it's very beautiful, sort of inspiring place actually, which I really enjoyed. And the cathedral is pretty magnificent too, with all the mosaics inside.
Yeah, I think the Duomo is amazing. There's again a lot of art and history. So as we talk around the Tuscan region, I mean, you've got amazing wines from the Tuscan regions. If you sit down, then you've got the piazza, you've got the beautiful Duomo as well, and then you've got the streets. I mean, just walking around the streets, and then you've got some of the some of the great artwork around. So there's definitely a lot to see. I think it's definitely not somewhere that you wouldn't get. I wouldn't get bored, and I think it's also that beautiful feel of a city to sit in and just relax. But then you can walk around and do things. So I think it's definitely one of. I would definitely put it on a list eventually if you haven't gone, to definitely go and have a look at that.
And Siena, yes, beautiful. Oh, Siena's at number 9.
So what's at number 8, Josie?
Number 8 is, now this one's very interesting. It's actually Verona, everyone. Absolutely loved Verona. So this is a really beautiful city. I've heard a bit about it, but not a lot. So Verona is a city in the North Veneto region. It's again another medieval old town. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's also very famous for those of you who might know, being the setting of Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet. And you could also see the 14th century residence with the tiny balcony overlooking the courtyard, which is said to be Juliet's house, which is amazing. So we definitely did that. And again, the other thing about Verona, it's very old and it's got that old city feel, and it's got a arena, which was built in the 1st century. It's the 1st century Roman amphitheatre, which still hosts concerts and very large-scale operas. It has Botta d'Osseri, which is the ancient Rome gate, which comes into Verona, and it gives you that beautiful ancient ruins, and then it's layered with the modern city of Verona. And I have to say, I was really surprised. It was one of those things that I'm like, I wanted to go to Verona. I'd heard so much about it, but I actually hadn't. I suppose it was one of those places that I just hadn't thought that it was going to be as beautiful as it was. And the UNESCO, it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well, as one of the most beautiful towns. So it's definitely one of the lists that I really, it's taken me maybe 6 or 7 times to go to Verona. It was just beautiful. The piazza's beautiful. I'm a bit of a shopper, and the shopping is amazing. They've got this, it's a cobblestone, and you go through these beautiful, all the shops are in these beautiful buildings as you meander through these little alleyways and streets, and there's no cars in that sort of ancient area as well. So it's actually amazing. And then you've got this whole, near the amphitheatre, you actually can sit, and there's lots of restaurants and people, and just sit back and watching it is amazing. Lots of stuff. We did walking tours, so that it's got lots of arts. They've got castles. You've got museums. You can go through lots of stuff around there. You can do beautiful walks through Verona and around Verona. I definitely think that was something, to me, out of my top 10, this one was a city that was just a big surprise for me.
Oh, well, I actually went there on my first trip to Italy, and I fell in love with it straight away, actually. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have never seen anything quite like this, because of the amphitheatre and the piazzas. And it was apart from Venice was the first big city that I saw, but Verona was the first city that I saw in Italy, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it was magical. And there's one of the piazzas, there's a statue of Dante, and it's a really brooding, he looks down over the piazza, and he looks really like he's very serious. But yeah, I found it just like a very pretty city. It's a really great place to stay overnight, but it's easy to do a day trip there from Venice or even Milan, actually.
We actually stayed there for 2 nights, and we love it. We loved it. Honestly, I can't talk more highly. We went to the Castello Vecchio. We did the Verona Arena. We did Juliet's house. We did the Duomo of Verona. We walked around. I felt that the 2 nights, it was our anniversary, which was great. It was just a place that we just needed to relax and watch the world. And I have to say, it was just beautiful. So definitely one of my highlights. And I didn't know where to put it, but it was definitely, should it be higher? Maybe, but it sits at 8 at the moment.
Oh, wow. Verona, it was actually on our itinerary for the trip that we missed out on, so we'll definitely be putting it back on the list. Time. Yeah. Okay, number 7, Josie.
Number 7. Now, this is interesting. 7, it's Sorrento, and I think so in the Amalfi. And I think the reason we went there with the family, and I think I just have beautiful memories of Sorrento. Not to say picking any of the part of the Amalfi coast was something that it was hard, because I think the reason I love Sorrento is that you come in and as you're driving in, you get that beautiful view, and then you can go to the water as you walk down. You can see across to Capri on a good day. But I think it also connects you to the rest of the Amalfi coast too. I think it definitely, I don't know, it's got some sort of charm about it that I really, really loved. It was somewhere that we just stayed. It had great restaurants. And then we also spent a day on a beach club, because as you're probably all going to hear on this podcast, I love my beach clubs. It was a very expensive beach club, but we spent a day out on the water. It was a makeshift beach club that we went into. And I think it's also because you've got the little marina, you've got the big marina, you've got the city, you can walk down to the cliff to the beach. Obviously, it was just, I loved everything about it. And again, is it the fact that it's got beautiful memories for my family? Probably. But then we could go to Capri for a day, and then we took obviously a car tour to Amalfi and Positano, and we did all of the Amalfi coast, and then we came back, and then it was like at night you'd dress up and you go for your passeggiata, you'd have your dinner, and again, amazing restaurants with really great seafood and very local cuisine. So I felt that actually I really loved Sorrento.
Well, it has an unbeatable position, doesn't it? I mean, it's right in the heart of everything. You've got Amalfi Coast, Capri, and Ischia if you wanted to go over to one of those smaller islands, plus Pompeii and Naples. It's really got everything. Can't have a better positioned city, really.
I think for me, it's sort of a town that it's at a leisurely pace, right? So you just sit down, you meander through the streets, you go to the historical centre, you have your cappuccino or your latte, or they don't call them the lattes there, obviously. Then you go through the little streets, and you've got all of the amazing linen, and then you've got the limoncello you can buy, and then I think you walk through, and then you've got the beautiful sunset that comes through. So I think that it's a lot, but it is a leisurely city. I found it was we stayed there, and I just found that it was really relaxing, and it had everything that we needed. And I think it's a doorway to everything, right? You get a boat to Capri, which is one of your favorites, but you can also get you can go to Positano, Amalfi, and come back, or you can take the boats because you've got the ferries that can go to everywhere from Sorrento as well. So I think it just offers a really great experience for anyone. And I think for me, again, it comes back to those amazing memories.
Yeah, it really does. And did you manage to go through the lemon groves?
Yes, we did. And we also, it was funny, we took how they say we weren't organised, and we took one of those tours. We got one of those tours, and the guy goes, would you like just a driver? And there was how many of us? There was the 2 girls, my husband and I. And so we thought, yeah, anyway, this guy, we went to Amalfi and he goes, would you like to have lunch? And we thought, oh, yeah. And my husband's always a little bit dubious about where we're going to have lunch. So we ended up at this restaurant just outside of Amalfi. And we're like, oh, it was just the four of us. It was a little bit, can I tell you, we had the most amazing limoncello we've ever had and the most amazing lunch we'd ever had, to the point that when the girls go by themselves with their friends, they go and rebook this restaurant. It was amazing. And again, the limoncello and the lemon groves and seeing the lemons and doing all of that, I mean, we love limoncello, but I think having it from Sorrento and the Amalfi there's nothing like it. Don't you think, Katie?
It always tastes better when you're there for some reason. I mean, it tastes really good when you're at home, but it just doesn't have that same. It must be the air that mixes in with the limoncello. I don't know. I wish I was there now.
Oh, don't we all? But anyway, it's definitely something to put on your list. Definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, so now up to number 6.
So this is where we became a little bit, my girls and I debated this. So it's actually Monterosso in Cinque Terre. So out of, and I know that I think you put one on your one. But for me, Monterosso, which is one of the largest of the coastal towns in Cinque Terre, I think it is beautiful. It's located on the hill, cultivated with the lemons, the vines and the olive trees, and it's just amazing. And I love the beaches again. So we came in by train, easy to get around. We had 4 or 5 pieces of luggage because we don't travel light from Australia. And we walked along and our hotel was just right on the front there, and there was amazing restaurants and the seafood and the pesto and the food and the people. It was just amazing. I really loved it. I loved that place. And it's divided, the city's divided into 2 parts, the medieval town and then there's the newer sort of full life of town. So there's 2 parts of it. And again, it's just an amazing city. And I think one of my best memories here is that we'd heard about doing the walks of the 5 cities. And I said to my daughter at the time, she was quite fit. I'm not going to say I'm not fit, but I wasn't sure that I could do the 5 cities. So we got up one morning. It was about 6:37, and we decided to walk from Monterosso to La Lazza, and it was absolutely amazing. I have to say, it's certainly not a walk that it's not all perfect, right? As I was huffing and puffing my way up, I'm like, why can't they fix these steps? But can I tell you, when you get to the top, the absolute view from there, and I have got some amazing photos from that view. And I have to say, as part of my most amazing memories with my daughter, it has to be that walk. And just that day, we ended up just spending the day walking around. It was just amazing. And then I'd just like to tell everyone we caught the train back because I couldn't walk for a couple of days.
Well, did you know that they've actually made a rule now? It's a law that you have to wear proper shoes when you're doing those hikes in the Cinque Terre, because people were trying to attempt them in flip-flops or thongs or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, not probably the best idea, but it does sound like an amazing memory, and that's one that I would like to have as well. However, I did spend a lot of time on the beach at Monterosso enjoying a wine and a cappuccino after what was quite an eventful day. And I would love to go back there. Absolutely. Oh, Monterosso. Perfect place. Okay, number 5.
My number 5 is Alberobello. So where is it, you may ask? I know that you would know, but maybe some of our listeners don't. It's actually in the region of Puglia in southern Italy. Now, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of the amazing little houses, which they call trullo houses or trulli houses. So the Zona di Trulli is in the western part of the town, and they're like beehive-shaped houses, if you'd like. So they've got white tipped, like as if they're dusted with snow, and they've made from local limestone, and they're all very, very old. And there's a sort of history behind the trullis, and it had to do with, I love this, evading taxes. So I won't go into the full details, but they needed to make a house that could be taken down really quickly so that they didn't have to pay land tax or a law. There was a law around taxes. So they didn't want to make it a township. So what they did was they built these trulli houses to make them easy to break down and move. So what you'll find is you can stay in them when you go, and they're amazing. They're just absolutely beautiful. They take your breath away, actually. I don't know, have you been, Katie?
That's another one that was supposed to be going to in March, but they do look like fairy houses, don't they? I think that my daughter is very entranced by them being very small. She thinks that they look like where fairies live.
Yeah, and they look like fairies. And look, when you go down there and you walk around them, and honestly, if you look at my photos, I just go, they're just amazing. You can't have a bad photo there. And we found this beautiful restaurant because we were talking to people, and they said, go to this restaurant. It was in a trulli, and honestly, you can stay in them. You can't believe this place. The way they've built these trulli houses are honestly magnificent. And then what they've also scattered, because they were also on the olive groves as well. So these houses were also, you'll find them, scattered around the area, but also in the township. There's a whole heap of trulli there. And again, when you go to Alberobello, there's other things. There's a beautiful churches. It's nice to just have a walk around. For those of you who like to shop, I bought 2 beautiful dresses there. It's got everything, and it's really relaxing. Very nothing to do. I would suggest, look, we stayed one night, and it was just, we drove in late in the morning, and we stayed one night. We had dinner, we had time to walk around, and we left after breakfast the next day, and that was enough. So it was beautiful. But all of the Puglia area, I have to be honest, if I had to put on my top 10, we spent we spent a week in Puglia. It was very hard for me to pick somewhere unique or somewhere that I loved out of all of them. The only probably reason is Alberobello is that you're never going to find it anywhere else in the world, and I think that's what makes it truly beautiful.
Oh, I can't wait to go there. I love they have all these little flower pots, and you see the photos with the red geraniums, and they really pop against the white of the walls, and I just looks so gorgeous. And as amazing. You said, it's a unique culture. It's something completely different, and it's born out of I guess trying to evade taxes. But I've got to say, it's pretty amazing. If they had to pull those houses down quickly, they have stood the test of time for a very long time. So, and I'm glad they have.
Yeah, and now they've obviously heritage listed, so nothing can be done with them, and they're quite protective and of the actual trulli houses. And it's not, honestly, we went, it was June, and I can't say that there were hundreds of people there. Like, it was relaxing. Like, there were a few of us, but it was an amazing place to go. So definitely worth to put on your list. Now, whether you drive through or when you're in Puglia, I would definitely do it. And again, I haven't put some of the places to go, but there's some amazing places to go in Puglia, like Grotto della Poesia is amazing. We found that on a drive. Polinaro di Mare is another one. I'm sure Katie can put some show notes on these places and we'll put them in there. But honestly, if you love a beautiful photo of a beach area or of some amazing images of this country, of Puglia, I can't recommend this region more than I could do a whole podcast on just on Puglia, because I think it's an amazing region and there's so many things to see and places. So yes, Alberobello is my number 5, and I go into my number 4 being Lecce. And Lecce, again, is in the Puglia region, and it's known for its Baroque buildings. It's amazing. Every time I have to tell everyone this, if I had to pick a place to live, and this is one of the many places I always pick to live, is Lecce. We were there, we picked up our car from Bari Airport, and it took us about 3 hours to get to Lecce. And there's a new city and an old city in a fortress. So we opted to actually stay in the old city. Also, you can't take cars, so there's certain places that you can take cars to a certain point in the old city, and then you need to find parking either with your bed and breakfast, if you say, but you need to park your car outside of the old city. And then when you get into the old city, it's amazing. You have just so much history. It's very Baroque. It's a fairy tale, to be really honest, and it's one of those cities that is just worth having a little bit of a wander around. And as I was getting ready for this podcast, I was looking it up again, and I'm just like, I just love this place, and it just, every photo just doesn't do it justice. You just, honestly, you get there and you just wander through the narrow golden sandstone buildings. It's got piazzas in every little corner, and then you go, oh, there's another piazza, and then there's another church, and there's another wine bar, and you keep walking through. It has so many churches. The one night, I think it was about 6 o'clock, we'd had an Aperol Spritz, and then we thought we'd go to have a look at all the churches, and all the churches were opened, and you could actually just walk in. There were so many. It was just amazing. So I don't know how the words to express this place. It's just an amazing city, and the reason I loved it as well is that it's so close to going to, as you all know, I love the beaches, to different beach resorts as well. So we stayed there for 4 nights. It's easy to walk around, get around. It gets very hot. They still do their siestas in the afternoon. So it was really funny. The first night we got there, or the afternoon, I'm like, let's go for a walk. It was about 2 o'clock and there was no one out. And I'm going to my husband, it's very, very hot, and realized that they do their siestas. So we went back to our amazing B&B and had a bit of a rest. So that southern region of Puglia still has their siestas, and I think it was just amazing. And then what we did was we would get up in the morning and we wanted to go and sit by a beach club, or we want to drive somewhere. And so they gave us the option. You could either be on the Greek side of the water or the more of the Italian side. It depended on how the wind was flowing. So the lovely B&B people that we had, they would tell us, I wouldn't go to the beach this side today, I would go to this one. So we found places like Bianco Grande, and we went to, there was different places, and they have these beach clubs where you could drive, you leave your car, and you stay there for a day. I mean, we're all used to that, but the beaches were amazing. It was just a beautiful place, Katie. I can't talk about it more. And Lecce, honestly, I could buy my little house and live there forever.
I can hear that in your voice, Josie. It really has made a big impression on you, this place, I can tell. And again, this is one that we missed, but I'm definitely going back. And do you think you definitely need a car while you're there in that region?
Yeah, 100%. Look, there's places, and I'll give you a couple of places where we'll have to do Puglia, we have to. But, you know, you've got Monopoly, you've got a place called Gallipoli, you go to Otranto, Ostuni, and the only way to sort of really get that is to drive around. And I think, you know, we can talk about how the younger generation, so my daughters went to Puglia and they went and caught buses. Now, the challenge with this southern part, or Puglia specifically, and a little bit more also in Calabria, is that the buses aren't like, it's not geared up to the full tourist season, right? So on a Sunday, the buses don't run. In the afternoon, they have siesta. So it's not as common to get around, or as easy to get around. So to have the freedom of a car, I think was great. And I have to be honest to all of our listeners, I panic driver. My husband will not drive in Italy. So I do worry sometimes, because we have to do on the opposite side of the road. But honestly, the roads were beautiful. The freeways were amazing. And I always get worried about going around roundabouts, but they actually have all the signage that shows you where to go. So we drove up and down the beach. We went to the beach. We parked. You definitely need a car. I don't think that you can see some of these places without having a car, because you just wouldn't get in and see the different destinations, or you would have to be at the mercy of the buses, or you could do like a tour, I suppose, 7-day or 14-day tours if you had to. But if you're a free sort of spirit like myself and my husband, where we like to see things and go to a restaurant or stop along the way, I think it's definitely worth it. And I will be back because I have missed a bit more of that. I'd like to spend more time in Puglia because I think it's just amazing.
Wow. Well, you've definitely sold it to me, and I'm getting ready to go as soon as I can. Okay, so Josie, after all of that, what could possibly be at number 3?
So my another favourite one of mine, obviously number 3, is actually Taormina in Sicily. I haven't explored all of Sicily, and I know in your top 10 you've done a bit more, but is a hilltop town on the eastern coast of Sicily. It sits near Mount Etna, obviously the active volcano in Sicily. It's got a bit of everything. It sits up on the cliff, so you can go up to the cliff top, and that's where our hotel was. You've got the ancient theatre. So Sicily's also obviously had many different invaders, or probably not invaders, how do we say, people that have added to the culture of Sicily, and the Greeks were one. So they've actually created the ancient theatre there, which is absolutely beautiful and is still used today. Katie, have you been to, I think you have been to Taormina?
I have, and wow, is there any better view than standing in that ancient Greek theatre and seeing Etna kind of smouldering in the background with the smoke coming out? Is kind of like, you sort of just go, whoa, this is crazy. I loved it so much. And just at night time with the passeggiata through the streets, and there's a beautiful piazza there with the views of Etna as well. I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just the environment, right? It's the old and the ancient, and it all mixes in together with the beautiful Etna in the background with the waters close by. And I think it just gives you, it also, like most places, which I love, has a Porta Messina, which is the northern entrance to the city, has a magnificent ruin that you come through, and you come through into the city. I think that is amazing. It's got great shops and great food, but there is a little favorite thing that I have, and it's called Chiesa Madonna della Rocca. And this church is made out of rock. It's a church that's there, and you can actually walk from the heart of Taormina to this church, and it is honestly an amazing, it's all rock, so this church is like built into a rock, and it's really beautiful, definitely worth it. I always say to my husband, if ever I'm going to get married again, I'm going to get married there. So you can walk from the steps from the main street of Taormina, and it takes about 30 minutes on a leisurely walk, but you can also do different viewpoints along, and there's just, on a beautiful day, you can see everything. Okay, you can see the Greek amphitheatre, you can see out towards the sea and beyond, and it's just on the top of a rock, this church, and as you come in, you can actually, if you Google it, you can actually see the rock, and it was just amazing. Definitely worth getting up and going for that walk as well.
Oh, that sounds beautiful, Josie. Well, I actually thought you were going to say Isola Bella was your favourite, because that's the beach area down where you get the cable car down to the beach from Taormina.
Yeah, no, I liked Isabella, but for me, I love churches. The Catholic in me probably, but this one here, honestly, and I've seen a lot of churches, but this one is, I would say, one of my favourite churches in the world. It was beautiful. Isabella is beautiful. I'm not a real fan of the stones down there, to be honest, when I go to the beach down there. So I always remember that I have to buy those, those shoes so that you can actually walk on stones. And the first time I went there, I could see all these people, and I'm like, why are they wearing those shoes? But then when you get there, you realize that you are the silly one that didn't have the shoes. So, and just a little favorite little bar there. There's a bar called Bamba Bar, and it's where you go to. It's very well known and very famous in Taormina. It's where you can choose your have your granita. So what is a granita? You can have it with a brioche, and that you pick your own granita, and you can have different flavors, and then you can have it with or without cream, and it is amazing. It is sort of like the Sicilian delicacy, and Bamba Bar is one of the best ones to have, and everyone, whoever you talk to that you go, oh my God, I've gone to Taormina, and they go, oh my gosh, did you have a granita at Bamba Bar? And you go, yes, isn't it the best? So it's one of those places in Taormina that everyone goes to see, so definitely worthy. Fantastic photos from that place in Sicily. Honestly, Taormina, we only stayed one night, and I've been promising myself, which will happen next year, we're going to stay 7 nights in Taormina because we just think it's an absolutely beautiful place in the world.
It really is. Oh, Josie, we're getting down to the business end of things now. So you need to tell me now what is at number 2.
So I actually forgot this city off my list until my daughters and I sat down and went through it, and I can't believe I forgot it. It is definitely not worth forgetting, and it is at my number 2, and that would be Florence. It has a little bit of my heart, Florence. I love everything about it. There is just so much to do in Florence. How many masterpieces can you have in one city? How much beauty can you have in one city of all the Renaissance? I don't know. There's just, every time I look at everything that you look at for Florence, from Il Duomo to the Uffizi Gallery to walking through those amazing streets, and just sitting there and having a coffee, and just think of all the history here and how many people have walked these streets. I don't know. It gives me a little bit of it gives me that place in the world where you just see the whole culture evolve from where we were to where we are. I think the Pitti Palace, all the different museums, I think that you need to take this city at a slower pace than we probably do it now. I think that a lot of times we did 4 nights, and it probably didn't give it justice, and my daughter stayed there for 4 months. Now 4 months is probably too long, but I think to get the feel of it, if you had the time, this is the city that I would love to spend 6 months in. Because it's also the region, right? So it's not just what can you do here. It's the people, it's the places, it's the history. And there's still things to explore. We're all waiting for the Vasari corridor to open. That's not due to open till next year. So if it opens, hopefully. But, going from the Uffizi Gallery to the Pitti Palace, I mean, this is going to be amazing. I want to see that. So I think there's just so much in this city. I think it's the people, it's the food, it's I don't know, I can still, even just talking about it, Katie, I can smell, and I can, if I close my eyes, you get the whiff of, the pizza, or, just everything about it. I really do think Florence needs to just be one of those places where instead of rushing through it, you actually breathe, you sit, you drink a wine, and you relax through it and really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because Florence, I was obsessed with going to Florence, having studied Renaissance history at school. And when I got there, I have to say I was a little bit disappointed, and I can tell you why now, having returned several times now. It's because I did rush through, and I didn't take the time to, really just enjoy the city as it is itself. And the last time I visited, I just really fell in love with the place actually, because there was a lot of just wandering, and we did set a pretty fast pace actually, but it was more going to different shops and trying out different things, and going to stop at the truffle place, and then going to the Santa Maria Novella pharmacy, which ended up buying several perfumes from there. That's an 800-year-old pharmacy, it's pretty amazing. People should definitely go and visit. But yeah, I think you're right. It's like a wine. It needs to be savoured and developed. And I really feel like I didn't do it any justice. So I'm really glad it's on your top 10 list, Josie, because it wasn't on mine, but maybe, I don't know, like mine can probably change this week anyway.
Yeah, we also talked about it with the girls when we were doing this list, and one of the things they go, but we didn't really enjoy Florence because maybe it was too hot the 4 days that we were there. It was really hot. And it was really interesting because one of my daughters, she went to stay in Florence from April and she spent 4 months and she thinks it was beautiful, So I think we've got to be careful also when we put, sometimes you can experience a city and it's too hot. And Florence is one of those cities that is just, during July and August, there's just too many people as well. So that can also, sometimes I think we just don't see the beauty of certain cities, or we're rushing through because of different reasons. But we want to see it. And again, I think it's just one of those cities that I've been back there 3 times and I could definitely go back again and actually spend the whole time in Tuscany because, again, I think there's just so much to see, do, and just enjoy. I think it's definitely a city that I love to explore. And every time I go back, there's something new we find.
Yep, it is beautiful. Right. So that just leaves one, Josie. Which
is Rome for me. It was really hard to pick my number one, but I think we've spoken about it ever since we started podcasting. For me, Rome has it all. I love just everything. I think I'm looking at pictures as I'm talking and it fills my heart with just so much love for this city. The history behind it, the architecture. I absolutely love the Vatican and everything to do with the Vatican. I think for me, just having the history behind that. And every time you walk through a street, there's something different. So it's not just about the big, amazing Colosseum or the Trevi Fountain or the Spanish Steps. I think it's the way that city moves, how that has stayed for generations after generations, how it has evolved from such a central hub of Europe to continually be an amazing city in the new age. I love the different cultures and customs and food, and just every corner has something new. I love the way the Romans talk in their Italian. I love the way they dress. I just think that this city is just amazing, and it just, every time I go, I could spend weeks and weeks here again. It is a city that never disappoints me. It's a city that I always find something new, and there's already something to learn. And I think it just brings out the best of humanity because you've got everything there. You've got amazing artworks and people, and I love it. It really to me is a place that I go back to because it's just got a mixture of everything. It's got, the ruins, it's got inspiring art, it's got the city life, the street life. I don't know, it's the hot-blooded capital, really. It's got the romantic part about it. As that sun sets over Rome, it warms you. I don't know. I think it's just one of those places that it's a treasure, and it's a living treasure, and I love every part of that city. Every time I go for a walk, I just love it.
Your enthusiasm for it is infectious, because you really have to go to Rome and just sort of immerse yourself in it. And I think, again, it's one of those places where the temptation is to kind of rush through it. But, wow, if you invest a few extra days, you'll be very, very well rewarded in just wandering around, finding those cute little fountains, a tiny piazza, just wandering through a park. And as you said before, these are paths that people have walked for thousands of years. It's kind of amazing that's the case, really.
Yeah, and I think it's that, right? I think what we're doing in our podcast, and I think what you do so amazing in your Facebook of Italy, is really show people the beauty of this country. And it's about sitting down. We rush around, and we probably got to get here, and we've got to do this, and we've got to tick off stuff. And I think I've been lucky enough to go to Rome so many times that now it's not about rushing. It's about sitting, and you sort of become part of Rome, and you're walking past things and you start admiring, as opposed to looking in a book. You're actually looking up and looking at the world and looking at this city and going, it is amazing. And it's that experience. I think it's talking to the locals. It's, it's buying the chestnuts while they're heating at night when you're going for your passeggiata. It's buying that gelato in that same place that you remember. It's having those walks and talks with your family or your partner and those beautiful memories of, looking up at the Spanish Steps for the first time or going to throw that first coin into the Trevi Fountain, but actually taking the moment to actually be in the moment as opposed to rushing around and taking photos. And I think that's the beauty of Rome. I think sitting back and actually, walking through and going to different parts. I mean, you and I talk about our favourite restaurant and how we find different parts of Rome every time we go. So for me, I just love this city. I think I love big cities, but this one especially. I just think there's just different neighbourhoods that you experience different things. Yeah, love it. So that is my number one. Absolutely number one.
Wow. Of course it was Rome. And I love that we have like really different views and perspectives on what we love, although some of them are pretty similar. And I'm sure that some of the ones that you mentioned that are on my list as well that I'll absolutely love just as much as you did. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show today. I know I have. Josie's shared so many fun memories and new places that I want to go to, and thank you so much, Josie. I really loved chatting about this today because even though we know each other pretty well, there's things that always come out.
Yeah, I don't we all wish we could just get I want to get on a plane today and go back to Italy, but hopefully sooner we can all experience Italy again, which has been beautiful. And your list is actually, I've got a few from your list too last week, Katie, definitely. So I think there's some amazing places that we still have lots of amazing memories to make there.
Exactly. So now, everyone, if you'd like some more information on the places we mentioned in the show, head on over to the show notes at untolditaly.com/20. We really appreciate that you take the time to listen to our show. Do let us know if there's a topic or place that you'd like us to cover, and we'll do our very best to make that happen. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed listening, please leave us a rating or review, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.